Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for being here as always. And today I'm joined by a wonderful, wonderful guest, and I get to finally play Dominic and Chris. He is the founder of the Star Wars Underworld, Mr. Benjamin Hart.
Thank you so much, Andy, for allowing me to be here and invite me on. And yeah, I'm looking forward to discussing what we're going to be talking about, because there's a lot of interesting stuff happening in Star Wars, but this is particular is got some excitement and also some cynicism going on around it too. So
just a little bit of cynicism. I think 37,000 downvotes worth of cynicism.
Oh wow, yeah.
But real quick. Now I know I invited you on to talk about the Resistance trailer, and we will get to that.
Right.
But and we haven't talked about this during the pre-show either, so I'm going to drop this on you right now. Have you gotten a chance to read the Kelly Marie Tran, or rather Loanne Marie Tran's article for the New York Times yet?
I've read bits and pieces of it, but not. I need to sit down and read the whole thing just for the sake of like talking about it intelligently on other podcasts. But eventually,
fair enough.
But I do want to read it, and I heard all about her kind of like coming out and kind of confirming like everyone that's saying, hey, well, she didn't ever say that she left Instagram for thing, and like she totally did. That was obvious, and now she confirms it. So that's good. That's finally for those people, those idiots. But also just kind of getting her struggle and stuff like that. And I think we all can learn from that.
Yeah. Well, okay. So since you haven't read it quite yet, we will probably. Excuse me. This is actually my 8:30 a.m. for you guys listening. So I'm on my second cup of coffee. But just my thoughts on the Kelly Marie Tran article. It's just, man, it's so powerful. I can't wait for you to be able to read it, Ben, and I can't wait to listen to. I'm assuming that you guys will end up talking about it on.
I'm sure it'll take up probably an hour of the show, probably.
At least of just round table. Yeah, people are dicks. Kelly Marie Tran's awesome.
Yes,
and it'll be a nice hour-long circular conversation and be quite enjoyable.
Totally.
All right. Well, the Resistance trailer. That was a thing.
It was indeed.
That was very much a thing. I feel a little bit bad because, the show Rambling Back, I use it as a way to respond to the comments on my initial review video of some big news in Star Wars. Whether that be a new trailer, whether that be a new announcement, whether that be, whatever. Just to kind of get a pulse on the fandom and get a pulse on, the audience, the very kind and loving audience that the Star Wars Ramblings channel has. And I don't know. I've had a lot of second guesses on my initial thoughts video on the trailer because I spent most of it complaining about people complaining about it instead of actually being excited for the show.
That's true.
Because I am really excited for the show. I was a huge fan of Speed Racer as a kid. Yes, even the live action movie. I loved the live action movie. I still do. Don't at me. It's got a very Robotech-y animation feel to it. It's just, it's got some Gundam looks with, the pilots and the way that they look and stuff like that. I am incredibly hyped to watch this show. I don't expect to enjoy this as an adult. I expect to enjoy this in my pajamas, eating some cereal, sitting on the floor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, totally.
There are different ways of enjoying Star Wars. When you watch The Last Jedi, you should be enjoying The Last Jedi more as an adult. Whereas when you're watching Resistance, you should be enjoying Star Wars as a kid. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm excited to have something to enjoy Star Wars as a kid again. So what were your initial thoughts? I mean, on our whole 1 minute trailer for a season of television.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I definitely don't hate it like some people seem to, like a lot of people seem to, and I'm not as jumping up and down excited as a lot of people seem to love it. And I'm totally on board with you guys. You love it. I'm glad that you're happy with it. I definitely don't hate it. I'm intrigued. I'm interested. I'm more excited for it than I was, which was I had little to no excitement for the show because I didn't know anything about it. Now I'm okay, I like what I'm seeing here. I'm interested. I want to see more. And that really a minute trailer is really not much to go on. So, and the big stickouts for me would be just the animation style. And I know some people seem to have a problem with it. I don't. I like the animation style a whole lot because it's very different from anything we've ever seen before. Even different from the original Clone Wars, different from regular Clone Wars, from Rebels. It's this, anime-inspired design that I really, really like. And I'm not a big fan of anime, but it reminds me of anime, and I like it. So that says something about, the kind of the subject matter of it. The main character, I get why I get how he could become annoying with his voice and everything like that. And, hey, look over there! And he's kind of all over the place, kind of hyper. But people said the same thing about Ahsoka. Like, Ahsoka was this annoying character, but yet she grew into this fan-beloved character. So I'm not going to judge this guy. Go ahead.
And even Ezra had the same sort of thing too.
Yeah.
Like Ezra, it's weird. Like, after Rebels has been gone now for about a year, I'm starting to see more love for the character of Ezra than we ever got while the show was on air. And exactly. Like you were just saying, it's like Kedzu. Kedzo. Oh, God, I feel so terrible. I am a Star Wars media personality.
I just call him Kudzu Weed Whacker.
Kudzu. I even used his name in like a Twitter or a tweet thread that I made.
It's going to take me a whole long time to actually pronounce it, much less actually type it without just copying and pasting.
But the point is that Kedzu is going to he's going to have that Ezra effect. Like, that's just, I've already accepted that. I accepted that when we first got the announcement of the show, that he is going to be an Ezra Bridger in the way that the fandom interacts with that character for the first season. A lot of people aren't going to like him, and they're going to be more interested in the side characters because, well, he's the obnoxious young kid, trying to find a place in the world, and it's hard for, grown-ass adults to empathize and connect with that. And it's going to take until that character reaches some maturity before we can make a real emotional connection to him. So, I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, I'm sorry I kind of cut you off by rambling on about the character.
Perfectly fine. You have this thing with, like, characters that do not connect with adults, but ultimately kids love them. Young Anakin, Jar Jar, Ahsoka, Ezra, they're ultimately, even if they aren't young, they're young at heart, especially Jar Jar. And kids love them because they can relate to them. And I think even though this guy he's probably 20-something supposed to be in the show, I think he's going to connect more with kids. And I think we adults just going to have to deal with it and go, okay, this is the way this character is. We'll see how he actually develops. And that's what I'm interested in the show overall, is like, it seems very fun, very funny, almost comedic at times, but it still feels like it's got that hint of like grounding of traditional Star Wars. And that's what intrigues me about the entire show, is like, where is the show going to go? And we have these reports about it 6 months before Force Awakens. I don't know if that's true or not, but like, how is that going to figure into the overall tone of the show? And is it going to start really light, like both Clone Wars and Rebels started? Is it going to get darker? How dark is it going to be? Like, these are all questions I'm very interested to know about. And like, what is the subject matter going to be this show? Like, what's it going to look like over time? Because what we're getting right now is probably hinted like the first couple episodes. Like, the premiere is going to be 2 episodes, and that's probably all we're seeing right now. So like, you have a season with 10 or 22 episodes, like, what's that season going to look like, and what are the main characters going to be like? We only know it's about this one guy named Kazuto. Like, overall, what's the show going to look like? And that's, it's funny how I was complaining, a lot of people were complaining about how there's been no trailers, there's been no really anything for this thing up until this trailer came out. And we're like, oh, we hopefully it doesn't hurt the show, because we want it to be successful, of course. Even if we don't like it, we want it to be successful. So, like, I'm wondering now, like, it's almost got me more intrigued now that I only have this little taste of it. Now, going forward, like, what's this show going to be like? What is this show going to actually be? And we just got this little taste. But, hopefully, I don't know if we'll get a full trailer or not, but I'm very intrigued by what we see here.
Yeah, for sure. That's an interesting concept that you bring up there about like how like when like before we get our first look, which that's what this trailer is entitled for Resistance is first look trailer or something like that. And before we get our first look of a new Star Wars property, it's kind of like a cycle where I'm excited for it, but until we get that first little tease, that first little bit of information, it's hard for us to really connect and understand why we should be hyped for something. For me, probably the strongest example would be from the Last Jedi trailer that we got at Celebration Orlando, because that was the first real like film, like the actual content of the film being shown, more than just quick little Twitter pics and Instagram photos from Rian Johnson. And until we got that, I had no idea what Episode 8 was going to feel like. I had no idea what Episode 8 was going to look like. I had no idea how Episode 8 was going to be paced. But then as soon as we got that, minute and a half teaser at Celebration, that was when the imagination kicked into overdrive. That was when the engagement started for me. And yeah, I feel like Star Wars especially has that. There's a special quality in Star Wars that causes that sort of dynamic where you need to have that quick spark of inspiration for you to start actually speculating on what this new project is going to look and feel like.
Yeah, totally. And you and it's almost frustrating when you have nothing. But when you're actually getting that little bit of inspiration, it's like, oh, I can work with this. I can make some theories about this. Kudzu is Rey's parents, or something like that. It just go wild with it. But it's still you get this little bit has got people talking now, and good or bad, they're talking about it, and that's gonna last for the next couple months to go forward and see. The second trailer, and I'm sure a lot of teasers and stuff like that going into and we really don't I was trying to for the SWU, I'm trying to cover it and put out first look at this character and this character. None of the characters are names. I don't know who's playing who. I don't know which character is which. So I'm interested to see if we get a big reveal like we did with Rebels, showing each character who they are, who they're played by, stuff like that. That'll be interesting too.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I'm really hoping that the Star Wars Twitter handle goes into overdrive. Just Bolger, kicks it into overdrive with showing little bits and pieces of what more we have to expect from this show and the characters within the show.
Very true.
So, with our initial thoughts on the trailer out of the way, let's go to you guys, the commenters, the listeners of this vodcast. Let's see here. Let's talk Richard J. I think it's worth mentioning that the Clone Wars and Rebels first trailer was very underwhelming. Let's not write this off just yet. This is a first look. It's not even a proper trailer to the show. This is Filoni. He'll pepper it with Pixar-type humor where there are dark bits meant for the grown-ups too. Thank you very much, Richard. I really do appreciate it, especially hanging out with me over on the Twitch streams as well. I just started watching some of the Twitch streams, so thank you very much, Richard. Now, with that being said, we already kind of talked a little bit about, how trailers can be underwhelming. You can have that issue where a thing... where when you don't have the context to put into a trailer, you're not going to be able to connect as much. We're just seeing, oh, Kudzu does something goofy. Oh, Poe Dameron says something funny. Oh, this happens. And oh, he breaks an engine or a grav lift or something. Okay. I mean, we'll see what happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I wanted to touch on his point about the humor. And that's, I've seen a lot of complaints. A lot of the complaints about this seems to be oh, it's so slapsticky and stuff, like when the robot smacks Kudzu in the face. And that's not Star Wars-y humor. Well, like it or not, Jar Jar is part of Star Wars, and Jar Jar
Like,
made poop and fart jokes.
What is Star Wars humor anymore?
Yeah, exactly.
We've got Jar Jar, we've got prank calls, we've got, people throwing lightsabers over their shoulder. Like, what is Star Wars humor?
Yeah, exactly. Although, on a side note, I don't think that was meant to be a humorous thing.
Yeah,
but,
I agree.
But anyways,
going back to Last Jedi, I get why people are angry. I just don't care.
Oh, for sure.
I just don't care. Like, I love those moments. So whatever.
Like, real talk. Even though The Last Jedi is my favorite Star Wars movie of all time, I think it would have been a lot more powerful had he tossed it away like he tossed away the saber on the second Death Star.
I fully agree.
Had he tossed it to the side, yeah, it would have been a lot better. But that's neither here nor there. We're talking about Resistance. We've already had the TLJ discourse for the past 8.5 months. We're done. But the bit of humor, yeah, there is some, more prequel-esque Jar Jar-y humor, going on in this trailer because it's for kids. And I can tell you, as an 8-year-old, I laughed my ass off at Jar Jar stepping in poop. That was hilarious to 8-year-old Andy.
I've never been able to hate Jar Jar because I've always laughed at Jar Jar.
Yeah, exactly. But as an aside, there was some very OT Star Wars humor in the trailer, and that got the biggest laugh out of me, which was when the like big alien guy tossed the dude over the side.
Yeah.
And Kedzu was like, "What was that?" And Poe Dameron's like, "Don't think about it.
Well,
don't worry about it."
Like that's not. I mean, if you think too deep into that, you realize like that guy probably got thrown into the ocean. He probably drowned to death. So it's kind of dark, actually.
Yeah, it's like when Callus, who the whole fandom loves, straight up just murdered a stormtrooper for being kind of smart.
Yeah, exactly.
In the opening of Rebels, it's dark, but it's played off in this kiddie way that it's like,
yeah.
It like you can feel comfortable sharing that with your 10-year-old kid,
right?
So yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on the humor exactly?
I think I was expecting more. I was expecting this just based on and we talked about it on several podcasts, going into this, it felt like they had cast people like Bobby Moynihan and Jim Rash, who have a very comedic backgrounds with the TV and stuff like that, and SNL or whatever. Like, you expect some comedy from people like that. And I was expecting this to be kind of not Detours level comedy, but, comedy, more funny, leaning more on the funny than, say, Rebels or Clone Wars did, and maybe less dark and gritty and whatever. I didn't get that impression from this show. I felt I got a more general Star Wars vibe to it with maybe a bit more humor, but it wasn't overwhelming to me. And that's what I actually liked about the trailer, is that, I love funny stuff. I would be okay with it being a bit more funny, and it still may be that, but I didn't get the impression. I felt like they'll do that kind of stuff in trailers. Like, that's a bit of trailer stuff like that. And just in general, this trailer, and he just brings, Richard brings up a good point about, the first trailers are always kind of weird, but also the fact you have to remember, this is a Disney Channel trailer, like a TV trailer, a teaser, if you will. It's not like a full, because there's a Lucasfilm guy that actually does all the trailers. He does a magnificent job with all the trailers. If you go back and watch Rebels, Clone Wars, the full trailers, the full 3-4 minute trailers, they're amazing. This is not anything like that. This is just a little teaser that you see on TV or whatever, a minute long trailer, a teaser trailer, if you will. So, I'm looking forward to seeing the full trailer and seeing how much do they lean on the humor in those trailers. I think that's more of a showing what the actual tone of the show could be. I think this is kind of a, just a, hey, this is the show and it's funny, and hey, kids, look, funny things, all this kind of stuff. I don't think we're getting the real, true, essence of the show in this teaser.
Yeah, we're not quite getting the heart of this show. We're not seeing the soul of the show. Like how Rebels was, the soul of Rebels was family.
Right.
And the soul of Rebels the soul of Clone Wars was, that the epic struggle in between light and dark, and the ever creeping, threat of the Emperor.
Right.
And whereas this, it's just like, okay, it's a kid learning how to race on an oil platform out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Like, it doesn't even have anything to do with the resistance. Like, it's just like, the whole premise of the show is he's undercover and he has to act like he's not with the resistance in order to understand what's going on at this base. So it's really, these first couple episodes really don't have anything to do with the resistance, just checking out what's at this oil platform. And I'm assuming, like, whoever is a good guy will end up going with him and kind of going on a mission with him or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have to see what ends up happening. And I'm wondering how many of the supporting characters are going to know about his mission by the end of the pilot.
Right.
Or rather, the end of the first episode they recruit.
That's going to be interesting.
See. I've got a feeling that they're going to have to introduce that, like, at least one or two of the supporting characters are going to have to find out about his mission before the end of the first episode, just because you can't have just a singular character knowing what the entire premise of the show is.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean.
He's also got to have a lot of people to play off of. You have to kind of develop a crew, ensemble cast around him.
Yeah, it'd be like watching a season of 24, where, Jack Bauer is the only guy that understands and realizes that there's a terrorist threat. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, that's like, it wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work in a storytelling sense.
And you think about I don't know, kind of the dark undertones storytelling that they could go with this when you start talking about how he's there to figure out who's loyal to the resistance and who's loyal to the First Order. And you can bet they're going to take advantage of that and have a character that appears to be a good guy, and then maybe towards the end of the season we realize they were a First Order plant. And,
they were a counter agent.
And so betrayal is a pretty dark subject that they probably are going to have to tackle before this show's over. So that should be interesting too.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens. Either way, no matter what, I'm excited for this. I'm a little annoyed because because the airtime, which we'll get to in a little while, the airtime is right when I start my Monday shifts at work.
Oh, man.
But, like, my first shift of the week. But, it's okay. It's fine. Whatever. I'll make it work. I'll still get my review, and I'll still get my reviews out and stuff.
It'll be up online by the time you get back home, maybe.
Yeah, but that's a little annoying. But anyways, we'll get to that in a second. So thank you very much, Jay. I really do appreciate the comment. And let's go on to Anime Guy 10 Million. I'm going to check out the show for canon reasons, but I'm not 100% sold on it. Mostly because the ships aren't things that got me into the series. It's mostly the Jedi and the Force, given what we know about the series right now. And the timeline that it takes place in, I'm not expecting to see anything really Force-based, and that kind of saddens me. When I look back on shows like Rebels, I always think of the Mortis storylines and all of that, and how much fun they are. Thank you very much, Anime Guy. Yeah, Anime Guy's a big fan of the Force stuff. You've always got, like, all the fans, you've got some fans like me who are pretty much into everything. And then you've got, the fans that are super big into the Force stuff, right, super big into the characters, others that are super big into just the action, whatever. And I can definitely empathize a little bit with Anime Guy, because I would have loved to see some Force stuff happening in this, but I've got a feeling that this is going to be the X-Wing series of the new canon in some ways, where it is going to be, action-packed dogfights and action-packed racing sequences. And for me, like, for what it's worth, I'm just as big into the ships and the fun action and everything as I am into the Force mythology and the Jedi. And it's just the ship designs in this little bit. Like, probably the biggest thing that I got out of this trailer was those ship designs, personally. Yeah. Like, I absolutely adore Kedzu's ship. That, like, beat up looking, like, it looks like what a high school kid would be doing stupid things with, and trying to, like, make it go a little bit faster with this, tiny little modification. And you know, you got I saw it on, I think it was you, Ben, who pointed out on the Star Wars Underworld handle over on Twitter, the decals, the decals on the side of one of the ships. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Well, yeah, and see, I don't know who's flying which because there's two different kinds of ships, but there's a green ship, I believe, that has on the left-hand side of it, there is a decal that looks kind of like a YT-1300 freighter, and there's another one that looks like a N1 Naboo starfighter. And actually, it was actually Alex Damon from Star Wars Explained who pointed out that at this period of time, or at least maybe before this, Han Solo was a racing like manager. So maybe that's his racing emblem, maybe. And just also,
awesome.
What connection that could have to Naboo, being the Naboo N1 starfighter, I don't know. But that's all interesting.
Yeah, it could just be that they're just like, oh, cool Star Wars imagery.
Right.
But with that being said, it would be really cool to see maybe like that racer was once part of Han's team.
That's true.
Or maybe that
it doesn't have
racer
to be,
is part of
Han's.
Han's.
It doesn't have to be Kazuto's. It could be someone else's. And it could just be a reference that maybe he once raced with. Because I think if we're led to believe, and I'm not so sure, as I said, I don't know if it's true or not, but they're saying there's a rumor out that someone picked up, I think it was Star Wars Newsnet picked up, that this might be 6 months before Force Awakens, which is weird because, you know, it seems like through a season you'd be through to Force Awakens, but whatever. But even if this is a few years before, I think Han would already be done. Like, I think by the time like Ben Solo went dark, he was already like back and doing his smuggling stuff.
Yeah.
So I think it was years before Force Awakens, before when he stopped being kind of this racing, you know, manager and stuff like that. Which I don't know what kind of racers he was doing. I'm assuming it was starfighter racers, but
yeah, it was pretty much everything. If I recall correctly, in Bloodline, they talk a little, like there's a good long passage that Claudia Gray takes where she's talking about like how there's like the 5-star race or the 5-pointed race or I don't remember, 5-something race. And it's actually done in stages where you have to have a ship that can do like atmospheric and hyperspace and out of atmosphere flight. Because like each stage of there's 5 different stages of the race, and each stage has to each stage is like there's one stage where you have to fly super close to the ground, and then there's another stage where you have to fly through an asteroid field, and then there's another stage where you have to hyperspace, you know, through this really weird hyperspace corridor. And, yeah, I feel like I think he was doing all of the above.
Okay, that makes sense.
In Bloodline, but like to your point though, yeah, exactly. I feel like Han. I don't think we're gonna get Han in this series.
No,
because unless they decide to just pull like a Lando and Rebels.
Yeah,
but
that's the thing about it. This is though, like to Anime Guy's point, or to contrary to Anime Guy's point, I would actually be well in support of there being no mention of the Force in this show. Or no big cameos. I would like it to just be about the Resistance. Maybe Leia shows up, and you know it's about Poe and the Resistance and this guy, you know, doing their missions instead of, you know, preying on kind of the Resistance nostalgia and of course like kind of shoehorning the Force. That was one of the things I kind of had a problem with Rebels. It kind of like I liked the Force stuff in it, but it was like this is supposed to be about Star Wars Rebels, but it's not. It delved way too much into Jedi. But I totally understand from his point of view. Like a lot of people, Star Wars is the Force. It's the fantasy element, and I totally get that. But I'm someone who I like all the different elements of Star Wars. I like the war elements. I like the the starfighter, the battle elements, whatever. Like I appreciate it all. So like if I can just get like I guess maybe Clone Wars kind of threw me into that perspective of like, because Clone Wars went off and we're going to do a 7 Samurai episode, we're going to do this episode and stuff like that. It gave you like, took chunks out of the mythos of Star Wars and just did an episode on that. So maybe that's where I get that from, but I get why people like certain aspects, because I do like, there's certain aspects I am more interested in than others.
Yeah, for sure. For me, it's almost like a mood thing, really. Like sometimes I'm in the mood for just crazy awesome space battles. Sometimes I'm in the mood to just watch the Mortis arc. It all depends on however I'm feeling that day, really, which is, I don't know. I know what that says. I don't know.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, I mean, there is the possibility of them like bringing in a little bit of the Force, or like maybe like one of the, like I've heard some people speculating that one of the supporting characters won't be like Force sensitive, but kind of like Lyra was in Catalyst, or sure it was in Rogue One. Not Force sensitive, but Force aware. I think is the term that Joseph Scrimshaw
that's the thing that
coined.
Really, like in the later years of Clone Wars and then getting into the new canon era, is that they've introduced that there's different people that have different perspectives and beliefs on the Force, and then there's people that don't have the Force but believe in it, like Lyra Urso, like Chirrut Imwe. Chirrut, I mean, you could kind of argue that he does use the Force in a way, but
yeah, the Force uses Chirrut. That's the way I like to see it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So that's a whole interesting thing of like the Force as a religion, and like a religious aspect of like, you know, they can't harness that power, but they can believe in it. And, you know, like, and you have people that really, again, Han Solo doesn't use the Force, but then starts out, you know, is incapable of using the Force, or at least kind of as in a cognitive sense, starts out not believing in the Force, but then becomes a believer. So, like, you know, you can play with that element a lot in dealing with, like, what are people's thoughts on the Force? Do they even know it exists? What are people's thoughts on the Jedi? Because at this point in time, the Jedi have been gone for many, many years. I mean, even since, technically speaking, the Jedi never came back because Luke was apparently just off doing his own thing in secret. So, like, what do people know about the Force and the Jedi at this point?
Yeah, that's just it. Is like, I'm really hoping that the Favreau series, and I'm really hoping that Resistance even takes that time to explore how wildly different people see the Force in wildly different ways after that sort of Force power vacuum, you know, where there is no dominant practitioners of the Force. There is no dominant organization that's kind of guiding the way that the galaxy perceives the Force.
Yeah.
And we'll have to see, because like as much as I dislike one of the stories in it, the Legends of Luke Skywalker book is fantastic to show that kind of unreliable narrator sort of storytelling, where you get to see how people interact with elements within Star Wars that we are also trying to puzzle out at the same time as fans. Like, what is the Force, or who is Luke Skywalker?
Yeah, like as fans, we have been so exposed to the Jedi lore, but like it's been a kind of a interesting note to go back and realize that like 99% of the galaxy probably has never met a Jedi, or has no knowledge of the Force. And, you know,
yeah, like they just know, there's some assholes from the core worlds called Jedi who like come in and mess up my town because there's this guy that does some nasty stuff over there.
Yeah, I mean, they
that's
start
their exposure.
Wars, they steal babies from people. Like, the Jedi aren't like the best, you know, especially the Jedi of the Old Republic era. So, like, you know, like it's it gives you different perspective on like the people that not many people know about the Jedi, and the people that do know about the Jedi, some of them kind of hate them.
Some of them. Yeah, we'll have to see what they end up doing. And for what it's worth, like I've already seen some crazy, you know, clickbaity articles like, is Ahsoka and Sabine going to show up in Resistance? No, they're not.
I think because Filoni's being so hands off with it, I think that's a sign that they won't.
Yeah, exactly. I've got this idea. I think that the Clone Wars revival of like the 12 episodes, I think that is like a cost analysis thing, in addition to just, well, it's a good seller for the streaming service. Mm-hmm. I'm convinced that they're doing it as a cost analysis thing to see, hey, can we get away with just doing 10 episode arcs, like little mini series on the streaming service? Will we make our money back by telling the Sabine and Ahsoka story as a standalone miniseries on the streaming service?
And I feel like that's a big enough cliffhanger. It's not a big enough cliffhanger to go, okay, we need to immediately follow that up. Like, they need to let that sit for a while. Like, we don't need that answer right away. Like, let that sit for a while. We got a good ending for those characters. And it'll be satisfying when it does come up, because as we know, time makes things like that go by. The Clone Wars being saved wouldn't have been as satisfying had we got that announcement immediately after it was canceled. It was so big of a deal because it'd been more than 5 years since the show had ended, and people had lost all hope that it was even coming back.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, look at the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy. We were waiting for 25 years for an explanation as to how Anakin became Darth Vader. Before that prequel trilogy story was finished being told. So we're gonna have to see that's just a hallmark of Star Wars, is sometimes you do just have to wait and see. And sometimes they are just gonna wait 10 years, 15 years, whatever, in between, excuse me, in between elaborating on certain plot points or elaborating on certain cliffhangers.
Yeah, I mean, they've got plenty of time. They don't need to. They got plenty of other stories to tell in the meantime.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, thank you very much, Anime Guy. We'll go on to our next comment. Let's go with the Star Wars Refuge, a good friend of the channel, Yoda Bauer. I've been saying I'm really excited for Season 2. Because so far, Lucasfilm Animation has always created the current crop of kids catered to the current crop of kids for their first season. I English the bestly. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with doing that, and it's really right. It really is the right move for them. But yes, it's cool if someone doesn't want to watch a fun kids show, but if that's all it is, a show like that won't be defining canon. The Clone Wars and Rebels moved well out of just kids show when they did their major canon moments. Personally, I think the animation for the ships looks stunning, but the animation for the people is pretty blah. But that's not going to get me in a bad mood about watching it. I've had 2 cartoons where I did like the animation. It's other people's turn. Haters gonna hate. In 5 years, we will have a new thing, and everything will start waxing nostalgia about this show. Amen. Yeah. Amen, Yoda Bauer. Amen.
Yeah, it's and it just I feel like I don't want to discount anyone's opinions. If you don't like this, if you're not a fan of the trailer or the action or the music or anything like that, I get it. I get why you're not excited. But I do get it. I do get why someone would be excited about this show by seeing just this first minute. I don't get why someone would be like, this is the worst thing ever. Oh my God, Star Wars is ruined. I'm sorry. I'm it's just this isn't enough to get upset over. If it's not appealing to you, you don't have to watch it. Clone Wars is coming. There's a bunch of other things. I think that's the era that we're in now, is that there's a bunch of stuff coming. And if you don't like this thing, you can go watch this thing.
Yeah. That's just it. That's the point that I made in my initial video on it. And that's plain and simply, okay, just bringing it down here. I know that you normally run a family-friendly show over at the Star Wars Underworld.
Go for it.
Yes. There is an actual comment on the Star Wars Resistance trailer that says, well, this is the final nail in Star Wars' coffin.
My God.
No. Do you not... You are not a film and creative executive. I'm sorry. Let them do their job, and then your job as the consumer of this media is to either support it monetarily or don't support it monetarily. It is your choice. That's it. That's the entire transaction. They make the thing, they offer the thing, and either you buy it or you don't buy it. That's it. And that's even if you play into the whole narrative that, you know, we are the customers of Lucasfilm, which I don't personally buy into.
Yeah, it's amazing how people go. This is a logic. I don't like it, therefore it's terrible and Star Wars is ruined. Like, they don't even, like, it's so selfish. That's the thing with this thing. And I've had a couple of debates on Twitter the past few days, like with people going like, like these new films are they just suck. They're just awful. They're just poorly written or whatever. And because of that or whatever, like Star Wars is ruined or whatever like that. I'm like, well, I think the opposite. Like, you know, like it's not about, and I was also trying to make the point of like, you know, Star Wars is ultimately for kids. Like, we are so like, as adults, we're kind of self-centered that we want to please ourselves. But we forget that there's kids that are going to grow up watching Resistance and they're going to freaking love it. They're going to love it like nothing else. And this is going to be their Star Wars. And we need to put that in perspective. But they're still going, well, it doesn't appeal to me. And I'm like, it's not about you. There's like millions of people that watch this stuff. It's not about you. It's not just about you, but it's all this self, you know, this self, like, it's about me. It's about what I like. And if I don't like it, oh, it's the end of the world.
Yep. It's just, I can't comprehend being in that headspace personally. I can't understand it. Like the difference between sympathy and empathy is that with empathy, you have experienced the thing that the person is going through, so you can empathize with them. Sympathy is being able to understand, but you haven't been able to, but you haven't experienced it yourself, so you can only sympathize. You can't empathize.
Right.
I can't do either because I just don't get it. I don't understand. I wasn't really hyped up for the Mando series, you know, after, you know, making Star Wars broke that news about the Favreau show being about Mandalore. Boba Fett has always felt like an overhyped thing to me. But you know what? Whatever. Okay, I'll still watch it. Maybe I'll enjoy it. Maybe I won't. If I don't enjoy it, I'll stop watching it. I just don't get it because I the thing that already makes me buy the frickin' 36 Funko Pops that I have scattering my desk, the thing that already made me, you know, start this YouTube channel, the thing that already made me, you know, spend probably $5 frickin' grand going to Star Wars Celebration next year. I've already had the experience that has made me do those things, that has made me enjoy Star Wars as much, and those experiences were watching The Phantom Menace for the first time in the theater when I was 8, watching the special editions for the first time with my dad in the theater when I was 6. I've already had those experiences, and anything afterwards, it doesn't matter. It's all bonus material. And if something happens that I don't like, I just don't acknowledge it. I didn't like Rogue One, so I don't watch Rogue One.
That's exactly
Problem
it.
solved.
That's exactly like I am not. I'll be honest. I'm not the biggest fan of Rebels. I have a lot of problems with that show. Guess what? I don't watch it that much, and I don't talk about it. I'm just like, hey, good, you guys enjoyed it. That's great. Like, just move on. And the number one, like probably the best meme ever created was the one it's the dude putting his finger up to someone's lips going, shh, let people enjoy things. Like, that's the point. Like, just let people enjoy things. But it's all about, if I don't like it, it sucks. I have to tell you about it nonstop all the time. Normal people don't do that. Like, I don't talk about things I don't enjoy. I just let it go. And I just focus on what I do enjoy. Like, it's not normal. And it's also unhealthy for you to do that.
Yeah, it just I get so frustrated with it. But let's see here. Let's try and circle back to Yoda Bauer's comment here for a second. Let's see here. Let's see here. Yes, it's cool if someone doesn't want to watch a fun kids show. Yeah, I mean, Yoda Bar was talking about being really excited for season 2, and that's a good attitude to have as you know, a more mature fan of Star Wars. You know, being in being in your 20s, 30s, or 40s, watching these shows, is to watch the first season just for funsies.
Right.
You know, put it on in the background while you're doing chores or whatever, and then wait for the second season and the third season and the fourth season once the writers get their feet under them and start really they've really figured out how these characters work and how these characters interact with one another and what the story is that they're going for. And also, once they've gotten their hook for their target demographic, which is 6 to 12-year-old kids, then they'll be able to start exploring a little bit more with more mature themes, and they're going to have the show grow up with the target audience, like the Clone Wars did. You know, the first season of the Clone Wars had Bombad Jedi in it.
Yeah, exactly.
The first season of Rebels is where puffer pigs come from. And then by the end of that, you've got, the Yoda arc that's delving into this huge, crazy, massive, like, spirit world and not spirit world and cosmic force and living force, all this crazy, super high level concepts. And at the end of Rebels, you've got, Ezra straight up, hyperspacing away with some space whales, and him doing time travel-y crap. With the World Between Worlds.
Right.
Just give it until season 2, give it until season 3, and then maybe start really investing in it and start really thinking, okay, maybe I will really pay attention to what Resistance is doing.
Yeah, I just hope I hope it has a clear narrative. I hope it has, just a good, solid characters, and one that you can have a clear arc, and you know what they're going. You can relate to them, and I just want it to be good. And someone else pointed that out. Like, if I think it was someone from Tatooine Sons that I was watching something of theirs, and they were like, yeah, if it's good, no, I think it was Mark Thompson. I was watching his review of it, and one of his kids said, like, well, if it's good and the story is good, then I'm not going to care about the animation. I'm like, boom, there you go. Like, who's going to care about if they don't quite like the animation if we all invest in the story? I think that's ultimately the most important thing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, think about the fact that there's a ton of people out there that didn't like the animation for the Clone Wars and Rebels. A ton of people. I know for a fact that Alex Damon, one half of Star Wars Explained.
Right.
I know for a fact that he did not like the animation for Rebels. Yeah. He just didn't like it because it wasn't as harsh and angular as the Clone Wars was.
It was a departure from Clone Wars. I like Clone Wars the way it developed and the way it was a bit more realistic. Yeah. And Clone Wars Rebels was not that, and it took me a while to get used to it.
I would say that the Clone Wars was more visceral. Rebels was more, I don't know, ethereal. It felt a little bit more floaty almost in terms of its animation style. Like, it was more organic, I suppose.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Than Clone Wars was. But anyway, sorry, I cut you off there.
No, it's fine. I basically I think it just ultimately animation style, you'll get used to it. Clone Wars is weird when you first watch it, but I've been watching it, of many, many years. It doesn't bother me. It's like normal to me. So, like, you'll get used to the animation. It's the story of the characters that really matter.
Yeah, for sure. And one last little bit on the animation. Anime style animation is the number one way that you convey speed. You, like, in, like, 3D... Like, imagine all the times that you see Anakin or Obi-Wan on a speeder bike in the Clone Wars. It doesn't feel like they're moving nearly as fast as they were on Endor on the speeder bikes in Return of the Jedi.
Right.
Just because that's just the limit of the animation style. Animation style, you can make things feel like it's moving very, very quickly. You actually get a serious sense of movement out of the anime style. So I think that might be one of the reasons why they went this way, because they're trying to make it a racing story.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, let's see here. Let's move on to... Whoops, wrong button. I pressed the wrong button. Where is it? Okay, pause the video, scroll all the way back down. Okay, so let's... we already kind of addressed the elephant in the room, but let's do it again, shall we? Diamond Rattler. 6-year-olds aren't going to be able to watch this show at 10 p.m. on a school night. Plus, I don't think they want to. Looks trash, plain and simple.
Wow.
Okay. Well, normally I just allow the guests to go ahead and comment or respond to people's comments. Well, real talk. Looks trash to you.
It was missing an IMO on the end of that.
Yeah. Just need an IMO in it. Then that. Listen, there is somebody out there. What is the name of it? There's this painting. It's like something number 8, undefined number 8 or something like that. It is literally paint smashed across a canvas. Like, dude just took a paint can and threw it against the canvas. It sold at auction for $28 million. Okay? I would never spend even $5 on that thing. But somebody did. Art is subjective. And narrative art is art just as much as a painting is. So, there are people out there that genuinely enjoy the original Dungeons and Dragons movie. Yeah. There are people out there that get joy out of the Star Wars Holiday Special, even if it is just to make fun of it.
Like our friend Steele has talked about before, how like he is one who he can be critical of the prequels at times, and
for sure
he can talk, and we all can be like, if we're being honest, like, and say, hey, there's some moments in those movies that don't really work, like the I don't like sand moment, like that's pretty cringy. But his point is like, it's been parodied so many times, and it's brought so much joy to people because they made fun of it. Like, even if you could change it, you wouldn't. Because it's part of the Star Wars mythos, and it's just part of it. Like, why would you change that? It's just fun now. It's just like, you make fun of it, you don't take it too seriously, you just have fun with it, and it is what it is. And that's
at the end of the day, even if it's bad, it's good. Like that. Like, I know that sounds super Disney shilly for me, but I already am a Disney shill.
Totally, me too.
But even if it's bad, it's good. Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure. Have you bought one of Steele's shirts yet?
I need to. I really do.
Okay. Just wondering. Yeah, they're super comfy. Buy one of Steele Saunders shirts of the Steele Wars podcast. Like at the end of the day, even if it's bad, it's good, because then you can make fun of it for being bad.
Like you take the holiday special. Like,
you can own.
You take the holiday special. Like, how many like great, like, go if you want to see what someone did fun with the holiday special, go watch the Nostalgia Critic review of the holiday special. It's one of the best videos ever created. Like, it's so much fun. Like, that's why it's so great, is that people can take something like non-Star Wars related, The Room. Like, The Room now is like this thing that people love. They go out to screenings and they do all these kind of things, and there's been like an Oscar-nominated movie about it. Like, it's this huge thing. Like, how can you say anything bad about that movie now? Like, it's so bad. At the end of the day, art is designed to elicit an emotional response. That is the purpose of art. And if that art is bemused, and if that emotion that, Resistance or the Star Wars Holiday Special or whatever, not that these are equating the same, or not that these two things are equal, but even if it is as bad as the Star Wars Holiday Special, it can bring you joy by laughing at how bad it is for you. Exactly.
At the end of the day.
It's not about being good or bad. It's just about enjoying it. And you can enjoy it in different ways.
Yep, exactly. And also, as a side note, 6-year-olds aren't going to be able to watch this show at 10 p.m. on school night. Number one, yeah, I do think that's a bad step. I think that, but I blame that on the framer, not the painter, if that makes sense.
And that's just for the premiere too.
That's Disney screwing up, not the people that are making the show, which is Lucasfilm.
Right, and that's just, we don't know when the actual show is going to be premiering or when it's going to be airing. We just know about the premiere.
Yeah, like it's regular.
So
airing.
it might be a different day, a different
10
night, and a different thing. It could be a Saturday morning things for all we know is at this point.
I hope it's a Saturday morning thing because this show just screams Saturday morning cartoon to me.
They really should embrace, if this is going to be something that they think your kids are going to be into, I hope they embrace it. I mean, it really could be really popular with the kids, and also if it's got a good story with it, the adults are going to be right along for the ride, especially adults with kids. They're going to be watching it as a family. Like, this could be a really big thing.
Yeah. Also, Saturday mornings are much easier for me to make reviews on the videos.
Exactly.
Or on the shows. Just saying.
Seems fair.
So just saying Disney Channel would be really cool. Yeah. Man. Yeah. Also, even if it does stay at 10 p.m. on a school night, most all the kids that I know, the 2 or 3 dozen kids that I know, in between family members and nieces and cousins and whatever, little cousins and whatever, all of them, they enjoy almost all of their content through streaming.
Yeah, true.
And I guarantee you that this is going to be on the Disney Now app.
Oh, totally. And also the streaming service that's coming out, that's going to be a big thing in about a year.
Yeah, exactly. Like at the end of the day, trust me, the kids will be able to watch it. It's not like it's only going to be aired one time on broadcast television, and it's airing if I recall correctly, the pilot episode or the premiere episode, is going to be, aired on the Disney Channel, but then the show will be on Disney XD.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Yeah.
Yeah, if my parsing of all the news articles and posts on StarWars.com and everything are correct, that's how they're breaking it up. So there's a good chance that that the show will not normally be airing at that time.
That makes sense.
Because it won't even be airing in that place normally.
Yeah, should be interesting.
So, but yeah, we'll have to see. Either way, I mean, at the end of the day, just to end on a positive note here, I am hyped for this show. And even if you're not hyped for this show, get hyped about the Clone Wars return. If you're not hyped about the Clone Wars return, get hyped up for episode 9. If you're not hyped up for episode 9, get hyped up for the Mando series. If you're not hyped up for the Mando series, get hyped up for the Padme book. If you're not hyped up for the Padme book, get hyped up for the Darth Vader comic book. That's the point. There is every single reason on the planet to be excited to be a Star Wars fan. There's always something to be excited for. Just support what you enjoy, and they'll keep making more of it. That's how capitalism works, kids.
And because there's more Star Wars doesn't mean there's going to be more Star Wars that you like. There's just more chances for you to like something Star Wars.
Yep. Wise words indeed. Okay, there. I need to get that fast-paced thing out of my system. I've been wanting to say that for a long time.
I have things in my head. Because you read things online, it's like, oh my God, but it would be talking with certain people online. It's just you're wasting your time.
I just don't get it. I don't get enjoying being upset. I don't understand.
It seems like some people.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Like, I had some guy come up the other day and he's like, "Oh, be positive, be like Luke," and stuff like that. And he's like, you look at his feed, and his entire feed is just attacking people for attacking modern Star Wars and attacking anybody that likes it. And I'm like, what planet are you from, dude? Like, are you even a fan? If your whole quote unquote fandom, it revolves around hating something, that's not being a fan.
Yeah. At the end of the day, if you're not enjoying Star Wars, and I mean this very seriously, this isn't me trying to make fun of you. This isn't me trying to yell at you or trying to put you down. If you are to the point where Star Wars is causing you more negative emotions than it is positive, I ask you to please step away from it. I did that when Rogue One happened. I didn't enjoy Rogue One. I stepped away for like 2 weeks. And then I came back and I started this YouTube channel.
There you go.
I started this YouTube channel a few weeks after we lost Carrie Fisher and a few weeks after my least favorite Star Wars movie came out. It was one of the lowest points where I was most sad and most hurt by Star Wars, as much as, any sane person can be. I couldn't watch the movies. I couldn't watch the original trilogy because it just hurt to see Carrie on screen again. I couldn't watch the sequel trilogy movies because it just hurt to see Carrie on screen again, or the TFA at that time. I couldn't watch the prequels because, I was so frustrated with where the Bail Organa storyline went, and how little screen time he got in Rogue One. And I took a week off. I didn't do anything Star Wars. I took a week or 2 weeks maybe to just not think about Star Wars. And then I came back and I started this channel, and now, the channel's up to 500 something plus subscribers. I can get on Twitter at any time of the day now and talk about Star Wars whenever I want to with hundreds of people. And so at the end of the day, if you're not enjoying Star Wars, take a step back and find some peace with it. Go back and enjoy the things that you really did enjoy, and then come back and start trying to celebrate the things that you love, not crap on the things that you hate. Yeah, that's a TLJ reference. Deal with it. I
mean, Star Wars is growing exponentially every single day now. With comics, books, whatever, just look at it. If you're one of those people that just enjoys the original trilogy, just tweet about that. Go, hey, there's something I noticed about the original trilogy that I never saw before. And just focus on that and don't worry about the rest of it. Don't try to, because I think ultimately people that complain about this stuff, they want to like it and they're envious of the people that do like it. And that's not the way to be. And no matter what, being negative all the time is not helping anyone, especially yourself.
Yeah, for sure. That's just it. As serious as that sounds, as much as honestly I get very frustrated with the super positive people on Twitter who are like, oh, insta block. I get kind of frustrated with that because it turns people who are disliking things into pariahs.
Right.
People who are, and I feel like it's too easy to swing too far to the other extreme of everything needs to be amazing.
And that's the thing. You don't have to be negative. Not all negative people are toxic, and not all positive people are not toxic. There's an in-between there, and you can saying the statement that I like everything Star Wars, and if you don't like everything Star Wars, you're not a true fan. That's toxic. That's the wrong way.
That's just as toxic
the wrong way to look
at it. Yeah, exactly. It's just at the end of the day, even for the super toxic, quote haters of the new Star Wars stuff, I'm honestly more worried about them than I am worried about their message or their impact on the fandom.
Seriously.
I worry for their mental and emotional health. Not saying, not trying to be all, not trying to, diminish actual mental and emotional disabilities or anything like that. But seriously, as somebody who has dealt with serious emotional disorders with personal friends and family, somebody who has dealt with serious depression issues, get some help if all you're doing every day is complaining about Star Wars on Twitter.
Yeah, totally.
So, anyways. All right. Well, either way, we're both super excited for more Star Wars. I think I'm about as hyped up for Resistance as I think I'm probably about 75% as hyped for Resistance as I think you are for the Clone Wars Return.
There you go.
I think that's a good way of measuring our hype. And you're probably about 50% as hyped for Resistance as I am for Resistance. Right. If people can follow that. I'm not going to make a graph, sorry.
No intense studies here, just looking at it the way intense studies here, just looking at it the way it is.
Exactly. But anyways, either way, Star Wars is awesome. And you guys need to celebrate it more.
Indeed.
And I need to celebrate it more. We all do. So, all right. Well, thank you very much, Ben. I do appreciate you being here, buddy. You want to let the fine people of the Intertubes know where to find you?
They can find almost everything I do over at StarWarsUnderworld.com. We do the weekly show talking about, Star Wars on the Star Wars Underworld podcast. We're going to be talking about the Resistance trailer and the Kelly Marie Tran thing, and I'm sure a ton of other stuff on this week's upcoming show. And then I also do another show called IPC, where we talk about literally everything else, including Star Wars. We've kind of going through some old Pixar movies right now. We're going to be talking about Wall-E this week, so check that out. That's also available on StarWarsUnderworld.com. Those are posted on around Friday or Saturday. And then you can follow me on Twitter at Ben Hart with no E, just exactly as it sounds. And then you can find the Star Wars Underworld at the SW pretty much everywhere.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Ben. Yes, you guys need to go listen to the Star Wars Underworld podcast. They do fantastic work over there.
Thank you.
I cannot wait to listen to you guys delve into the Kelly Marie Tran article.
And then we do also do the Kanji Cast, which you are on. You are a patronage. We appreciate that. And you're able to, and when you can you join us for Kanji Cast to talk about a few different things. So check that out too. I believe you were on the last episode too of that. Just as came out a couple weeks ago.
Yep. All right. Well, we're going to get out of here, guys. I need to get ready for work. I'll let Ben enjoy the rest of his day off. And as always, may the Force be with you guys. Take care.